Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ramadan Mubarak. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the Healthy Muslim in Ramadan. I'd like to talk today about responsible fasting. The pious Muslim wants to fast. We see the amazing spiritual benefits that we will get from fasting. And with our last breath, with our last effort, with our last eyelash of energy, we want to fast. We want to get the blessings of Allah. But we must be responsible. It is an offense of the ego, a sin of the ego, if you feel you can fast and you injure other people along the way. We live in a very complex, so-called developed society, in which we have a lot of technology which requires automatic attention to drive it, to run it safely. And if you're fasting and if you're tired, you may not be able to do that. So you've got to be very conscious as a person who's fasting, who has gone into the marketplace. You've got to be sure that you're doing everything right so that you can be a normal, healthy, working people that everyone around you can trust and rely on. Up to now, I've told you a lot about how to plan your day, how to do time management, how to be wise about what you do at what time of your day, so that you do the things that require energy first thing in the morning after Fajr, and you leave the things that just require a bit of thinking towards the end of the day, when you might be less strong. I've advised you to take a power nap in the middle of the day. I've explained to you the benefits of that power nap, which is essential for people in the working place. It's important also to know how your body works without food and to feed it the right food in the right quantities at the right time and in the right way. Eating slowly, not giving yourself tummy aches, and so on. Having done all of those things, you should already be well on the way to having a day where you can trust yourself to get through your day responsibly and not find yourself fainting, going to sleep, being inattentive, making mistakes, dropping things, or being otherwise, there's a lovely English word, discombobulated. You are meant, as a representative of Allah, to be in prime function as a fasting person, not to show yourself to be weak. However, as we explained, it is possible for certain people going through physiological conditions, they can't fast. Pregnant women, menstruating women, women who are breastfeeding, have permission not to fast, and they can make up their fast afterwards. If you suddenly become ill through the day, if you've been sick, if you faint, your fast is cancelled. You owe it to yourself to get better for that day, so you can make up that day another time. If you genuinely forget, because you're so preoccupied and somebody offers you something and you genuinely forget, of course you must be attentive, because if you're doing zikr Allah all the time, you'll be attentive anyway. But even so, we're human, we forget. Allah shows mercy on you and you don't have to make up your fast. But there are situations where you must be careful not to put others in harm's way. Many of us are involved in driving big machines. If you're driving a car, you may be driving for a short distance, so you can't really say you're traveling. But you must be sure when you get into that car that you're not going to crash it. You must be sure you're awake. If you see your eyes are getting heavy and your head is nodding, don't get into the car. You're dangerous. Have a nap. Doesn't matter where you've got to do, what you've got to do. Ring up, say, I can't do it. Send somebody else. To get behind the wheel of a car when you're sleepy is turning the car into a lethal instrument. Mothers who need to pick up their kids from school are in a very special situation here. And mothers, please have a power nap, because then when you need to get into the car to collect the kids, you're going to be okay. If you don't have the power nap, you won't be okay. And as I explained, a pilot who has a power nap for 40 minutes has enhanced performance for 4 hours. Your power nap at lunchtime will get you through the afternoon quite easily. So plan, carefully plan, in order to take responsibility for the work that you have to do. Of course, there are people who may not be able to earn their living except all day running very complex instruments which require full attention at all times. And this would be incompatible with fasting. If they can't take time off during this time, if they their work, it's the only work that they can get, then they are excused from fasting and they can make it up at another time. Obviously, it would be a good idea if they could take their annual leave, their annual holiday during Ramadan in order to have the blessings at least of the last 10 nights. And many of my colleagues do this. They want to have the benefit of this special time, and they do take time off if they happen to work in a shift system where this sort of planning is allowed. Of course, pilots traveling are probably exempt because they're traveling more than driving the car to pick up the kids. So that traveling is in itself an exemption. And they can make up that time at another time. But mothers should not consider themselves anything other than people with a hazardous occupation. Mothers throughout the day are dealing with children who at any nanosecond can put their fingers in a light switch, tip over a boiling pan of water, or otherwise get into mischief. And mothers have to be on message at all times. Allah will not be happy with you if you fall asleep and your child harms himself because you've been neglectful. Of course, your heart would not allow you to do that, but it means that you can plan a nap for yourself and a nap for your baby at the same time, and your toddler, baby, child will be in a closed environment in which he cannot get into trouble even though you're asleep. Planning this is crucial, and it's part of the natural rhythm of family life. It's one of the reasons I think grannies were invented, because while mother's having a sleep, granny can mind the kids. So you might have a mother, you might have a mother-in-law, but help us oldies to feel that sometimes we might be useful. And I believe in the extended family. There are wisdoms that the old ones can give the children, whether as a refuge for their secrets or for a refuge for a tired mother. Grannies have a place in a family, even if it's to teach kids to be good with somebody who is terminally cranky all the time. Dealing with difficult people is part of your life's experience and your life's training. Teachers are equally in a very special category, and teachers of children must be careful, especially if they know that children in their class are fasting. In many Muslim schools, a nap is available for the children and a break for the teacher, because fortunately, if there are a lot of female teachers, there may be some who, for physiological reasons, will be able to look after the kids where the other teachers have a nap, and they share a little bit along those lines. But children cannot be expected to do well in the afternoon. So a teacher dealing with Muslim children who are fasting must understand the pattern of work that they give the children in the morning and the pattern of work they give them in the evening and the afternoon. The afternoon work should be much more relaxed and less stressful, and certainly less attention to detail or attention to memory, because that's not going to be there. Art classes, drawing, needlework, simple, easier things are a good idea. So for those with responsibilities, pay attention to your own fast and the welfare and happiness of those around you. Please come back after the break. There's more to come. Thank you. Welcome back. We were talking about responsibility during the fast and how important it is that the adab, the performance of the fasting person, should give no cause for offence or concern by the people who are in their environment, who are co-workers or who they are responsible for. Sickness is of course an important issue when it comes to responsibility. You must be grateful if you're somebody who doesn't take medicine, who relies on their own health. Never occurs to them when they get out of bed in the morning that they might have any health problem, because that makes you a fortunate person. For many people, their lives involve, in one way or another, some conversation with dysfunction, by which I mean sickness. The dysfunctions of the body can be many and various, because a person who is quite seriously ill, in terms of, say, having cancer and not long to live, might actually be able to walk a lot further, appear to live a normal life, and indeed go through fasting, in the way that a person who isn't taking any medication but is overweight with terrible knees, depressed because he can't get work, and because he's on so many medications for pain, can't fast because he can't go through a 15-hour period without adequate pain relief. So sickness doesn't imply that your life is in danger of ending. Sickness means right here, right now, I'm 95%, 80%, 50%, 20% functioning. A person with advanced cancer can be functioning 100%. I was at the opera not long ago, and a lady turned up who I spoke to, and I was in a group of people, and she explained that she was dying, but she wanted to go to the opera, and that was a particular opera she wanted to see. She was beautifully made up, exquisitely dressed, really happy, and delighted to be in the company of family and friends. She died 2 days later. Now, she was sick, but she wasn't sick, if you see what I mean. She was able to enjoy the moment, even though she was very close to death. But for many people, even though they have decades ahead of them, their daily life involves suffering. And some of that suffering requires regular medication. Now, these people, if you're acutely ill, as we've already discussed, obviously you don't fast. You've got a high fever, your body needs to have nutrition and rest, and you should absolutely not even consider fasting. It would be an arrogance and an imposition for you to think that you can override the instructions of Allah in this matter. But people who live with malaise, lack of normal functioning on a day-to-day basis, have to make some quite finely judged decisions. And during Ramadan, they might be able to fast on some days and not on others, depending on how they feel. They may make the niyyah for fasting, but halfway through the day, they can't help it. They're sick, they are close to fainting, and they realize this is a day they can't face, they must break it. And then, of course, they can make it up at another time. The preemptive instruction is to value your body. Do not harm it in the service of fasting. Doctors are a partner in this assessment of what you can and cannot do. And it's important to have a doctor who both understands the importance of fasting to you and doesn't offhand say, oh no, of course you can't fast. Or a doctor who says, well, I don't know anything about it, I can't advise you, because he doesn't understand the physiology of fasting. In disorders in which you lose water, kidney disease, diabetes insipidus, and so on, it is possible that you'll be able to manage with medication, because the medication can be given at suhoor, before fajr, and you won't need the medication through the day. It is possible, but it depends on your case. Some people will not be able to manage. Some people will be able to manage. Some people will manage some days, not other days. So these are deep questions to be sensitively handled, with each individual themselves knowing how to get the best out of Ramadan, with full information about how their illness makes them unwell, and how taking the medication, taking the food, taking the water, taking the rest at the right times enables them to do the fasting. This is true with many illnesses. In cancer, we say people don't die of cancer, they live with it. I'm an example. I had cancer 12 years ago, I've forgotten about it. It can come back any time. Alhamdulillah, I feel great. I don't think about it. So you wouldn't look at me and think, oh, she's got cancer, she can't fast. Of course I can fast, I'm fine. Every day I do normal things. Even during the period when I was having treatment, the treatment consisted of 1 tablet a day. Not during chemotherapy and radiotherapy, that was different. But during the several years I was on a tablet a day, it wasn't comfortable for me. But I could fast. It didn't harm my fasting. There was nothing about taking this medication that made it impossible for me to fast. It made it difficult, but it didn't make it impossible. But I had to again think, pace, decide, plan much more carefully. I didn't have the leeway I have now that I'm no longer on the treatment. People on antibiotics, you might think, oh, they have an infection. But some people take an antibiotic a day for 3 months. Are you going to say that anybody on antibiotics shouldn't fast? Of course they can fast. They can take their antibiotic either at iftar or at suhoor, and during the day they're fine. They'll know for themselves if there are safe side effects from the antibiotics. If their stomach is a bit unsettled, they may prefer to take it at iftar rather than suhoor. They will know. You'll know the side effect profile of your medication, and your doctor may be very happy to take you off the night medications and put them for iftar, or to show flexibility in when the medications can be given in order for you to achieve your fast properly. This is very true of cardiac medications, which again may need to be adjusted if a person wants to fast properly. But that adjustment has to be under the influence of a cardiologist and may require measurements. The measurements, fortunately, these days we have a lot of home gadgets. So if you don't want to take blood during the day, you can take it at night. Although, in fact, taking blood is halal during a fasting period. It does not break your fast. People with emotional disorders have huge benefit during fasting. But there's a caveat on this. there are some disorders, particularly bipolar disorder, in which the medications that are given can be unbalanced during the fasting period in a way that influences mood. Now, of course, it might influence mood for the better. You're not going to know until you try. But there might be a change. The change might be a good one. The change might be a bad one. The sensitive physician with his patient should say, look, you're fasting. I'm going to cut your medications down slightly. Let's see what happens. Report to me how you feel at the end of the fast, how you felt through the day. What was your experience? Let me know. We can't know until we try. And this is what I mean about intelligent responsibility for what your own capacity is and for what your capacity is in responsibility to other people. Always, and I keep emphasizing this, the responsibility includes full attention to sleep, to food, to the type of food you eat and when you eat it, to your time management, to all of those considerations. This is the massive learning curve of Ramadan. And I would like you to feel that at the end of Ramadan, you have learned so much about yourself that you will see you will carry on these health benefits for, indeed, the whole of the following year. Please join us again. Assalamu alaikum.